Good morning, 7 East. Well, we made it to June, people. It is the last school month of the year. I can't believe it. This school year has felt fast in some ways, slow in others, but we made it to the final month. So let's say stay strong for the remainder of the year, however short it is. And on that note, while we are on the air, let's take a look at our agenda for today. June 1st, 2020. We have our daily countdown. We're going to make this a regular thing all the way till the end. Then we're going to talk about something that I'm doing to keep track of the Civil War Scoreboard. And then we're going to go over some of the major events from 1861 to 1862, setting up tomorrow's assignment. You have no assignment today. Let's take a look at our weekly calendar. So you have LEPRE Radio 041, that is today. And you can see exactly what we're going over. Google Meet today at 12:30. I'll go over the slideshow here and maybe some of the assignments from last week. Tuesday, tomorrow, you have a video. It's part of the same documentary from the first Battle of Bull Run. And you're going to have an assignment for that. Battle of Antietam video questions, Google form as well. Wednesday, aftermath of the battle and the Emancipation Proclamation. No new assignment. The video is a half hour long, so if you can't get it all done in one day, you have Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday, virtual Gettysburg tour. So it's kind of an interactive slideshow, and there's questions on that. We also have our Google Meet on Thursday at 12:30. And then Friday, aftermath of the Gettysburg battle and Gettysburg Address. And then we have the other turning point of the Civil War. And Civil War Quizlet Live 2. It's going to be new and improved. I've never done a Quizlet Live before, and last Friday's was way too short. I had 74 terms ready to have a quiz on. For some reason, it only did 12, and it was very short. So I will have a new and improved Civil War Quizlet Live, 1 o'clock on Friday. Now, 20 is the number of the day, because that is the number of days of school remaining. It might actually be less. I think we'll find out soon enough whether this number should be 20 or 15. We'll see. But until we find out, I'm leaving it at 20. So Civil War Scoreboard. So to keep track of the progress of the war, we will be going through the major battles and chronicling the winners and losers to see which side is winning and has the momentum. So in the top right, you see our Civil War Scoreboard. I'm using that varsity scoreboard font. Although the dot and the 0 is upsetting me, the lack of symmetry there, but I'll let it slide. So we're going to go through each battle, see which side won, and it'll change on our scoreboard, and we're going to kind of figure out which side is winning the war, and at what point. So attack on Fort Sumter, we should know from memory, really. That is a Confederate victory. And we see they have taken an early lead on the scoreboard, 1-0. Okay. Now, for those of you who hopefully watched the entirety of the first Battle of Bull Run clip on Friday, you will know that this also is a Confederate victory. And now we actually get into the numbers of people lost. So, the painting itself is confusing because you have so many different uniforms, and as they mentioned in the video, there was confusion back then on the actual battlefield because there were people wearing the same color uniform even though they were on different sides. A lot of confusion, as you can imagine. So early in the war, not everyone had the different uniforms of each side. So Confederacy jumps out to a 2-0 lead. You can see Union loses slightly more people. And now, battles of Fort Henry and Fort Donelson. Union makes a big comeback, and you see how big the losses are here on the Confederate side. 14,000 Confederates dead or injured. USA much less. And you can even see on this painting the CSA flag in the background in the center. It's not the one people normally notice. It's the other one. That's why I had that slide on the different flags. Battle of Shiloh. Union victory again. So it looks like Union has got its act together, right? And they win despite losing more people. Yeah, and here we see a clear look at the Confederate flags. So you have a Texas regiment here with a Texas flag, you can see. And then 2 CSA flags in the back. And then you have, looks like it's from Ohio. Each regiment or group in the Army had their own flag about where they were from. And then the Shenandoah Valley campaign. You have the CSA going back in the lead. Union, over 5,000 losses. CSA, about half of that. And continuing even further, we have these 7 days battles. Confederacy wins again. And here you have the Confederate battle flag. So Confederates jumping out to 4-2 lead at this point. What is going on with the Union? They call timeout. And then this is just the backbreaker. They have a second battle at the same spot. It's the second battle of Bull Run, and it does not go any better for the Union. It goes much worse. So the Confederacy wins this battle too. Union gets crushed. Look at that. Losing over 14,000 people. Confederates half of that. So things are not going well for the Union at this point. Let's look at the totals. So this is only from April 1861 to August 1862. So it's not even 2 full years yet. Not even a year and a half. We're close to it. So a Civil War scoreboard, the Confederates have won 5 of the first 7 battles, major battles. And you look at total losses, Union has lost 54,200 people. Confederacy has lost 56,700. It's about equal. But for a comparison, as it says at the bottom, in the entire Revolutionary War, there were only about 50,000 losses on the American side. So this was just not even 2 years, a year and a half. They have doubled that already. And at this point in the war, you have to say, the Confederacy is winning most of the battles. But they are still in deep trouble despite the losses on both sides being basically even. We'll discover why that is in a second. And we're going to start with some Q&A of frequently asked questions about this time period in history. And then we'll kind of clarify what's confusing. So question 1, how is the Confederacy winning these battles despite having lost more people in total? That is a good question. But the outcomes of battles back then, we need to know or remember if we don't know, then didn't just depend on who lost more soldiers. You won the battle by forcing the other side to withdraw or leave the field, meaning you took control of more territory as the winner or forced them to run back. Sometimes you could suffer fewer deaths and still lose the battle if the other side outsmarted you or put you in a position where you couldn't stay in or arranged to get reinforcements. There were ways to kind of force the other side to run away, even though you may have lost more people. And that goes into whole things about strategy and like who has supplies, who doesn't have supplies. Maybe one side has lost fewer people, but they're running out of ammo and they know they won't be able to continue fighting, so they have to run away. There's a variety of reasons why you might lose a battle other than just losing more people. What explanation is there for why the Confederacy is winning at this point? We went over the North and South strengths and weaknesses. The North had most of the advantages, especially the economic ones. So what is going on here? Why is the Confederacy winning? Well, there are two main factors that lead to this situation. The first is, maybe the most important one, the Confederacy is playing defense. With the weapons back then, accuracy wasn't great. It was much easier to defend something than try to attack and take it, which was what the Union was trying to do. Much easier to defend something from someone trying to take it than take it yourself. Less energy, less supplies you got to use. So it was much easier for the Confederacy to start with, playing defense. And the second thing, the Union generals were not very forward-thinking at this point. They were using strategies that were outdated. They weren't matching some of the best generals the Confederates had on their side. So remember, the leadership on both sides, they both kind of had similar educations, but certain minds gravitated to either north or south. And talent was not distributed evenly in the Civil War in terms of the leadership on both sides. So I do the separate slide. Leadership or coaching matters a lot. So think about it, any of you sports fans out there, if ever you have been on a sports team, you may have a team that on paper should be a championship team or a winning team, but if your coaching is not matching the competition, then a team that is loaded with talent might actually underachieve or have a losing season. And fortunately for the Confederates, they had probably the single best general in the war. So good that even Lincoln wanted to give him the job of commanding the Union Army, but he refused because he was loyal to Virginia over the United States as a whole. So Robert E. Lee, to make the sports comparison, he was like the Phil Jackson or the Bill Belichick of American generals at the time. The Union was in many ways getting outcoached on the battlefields of the Civil War. It will take a while for the Union to find generals that can go head-to-head with Lee. So great coaching can make a huge difference. And in the case of the South, having someone like Lee on their side gave them a distinct advantage. And it took a while for the North to even find people who could go head-to-head. Even though the South is winning, why did you say they were still in deep trouble? Hopefully, some of you remember to ask that question. And the answer, population, population, population. Remember, the North had over twice the amount of people that the South had. Both sides have lost around 50,000 soldiers, but the North can afford to lose more than the South due to their larger population. At this rate, the South can't afford to keep fighting battles like this. They will eventually run out of soldiers before the North does. The North knows this, and many people in the North who are advocating a very patient strategy are saying, look, just wait it out, keep fighting. Eventually the South will run out of resources and run out of soldiers to actually fight this war. We have that advantage, and that's what's going to win it for us. Question, did the South realize how problematic their situation was? Yes, they did. They were not ignorant to the fact that even though they were winning these battles, they were still in trouble. And this caused the Confederacy to allow General Lee to pursue his offensive strategy in 1862. So remember, they had the two strategies that they couldn't really agree on. Well, the first year and a half of the war convinced them that they need to change things a bit because it looks like the war is not going to be over quickly at all. So Lee believed that to win, the South had to go on the attack and intimidate the North into accepting Confederate independence or even capture the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., and force Lincoln to sign a peace treaty if they captured him in the city. With this thinking, Lee decided to invade the North in the summer of 1862. And that brings us to the Battle of Antietam, the single bloodiest day in U.S. history. It's going to be the topic of our assignment tomorrow. And just to give you an idea of where it takes place, it is the first battle, I believe, at this point to actually take place inside Union territory. So you see here the little star. It's in Maryland. And up until now, all the battles have been taking place in the red areas, the Confederate parts. So now the South is going on the attack. And we're going to see how that plays out tomorrow. But that does it for today. Try to keep it short, loaded with information. See you at the meet later on today. And as for me, I will be signing off from this edition of Free LEPRE Radio.